Hello everyone. Today's video we're going to be doing is, could ankylosaurs survive on Skull Island? So let's get started. Ankylosaurus. For its diet, like other ornithischians, Ankylosaurus was herbivorous. Its wide muzzle was adapted for non-selective low browse cropping, although not to an extent seen in some related genera, especially Euoplocephalus. Though ankylosaurs may not have fed on fibrous and woody plants, they may have had varied diets, including tough leaves and plumpy fruits. Ankylosaurs probably fed on abundant of ferns and low-growing shrubs. Assuming it was endomorphic, ankylosaurs would have to eaten 60 kilograms or 130 pounds of ferns per day, similar to the amount of a dry vegetation a large elephant would consume. The requirements for nutrients could have been more effective met if ankylosaurs ate fruit, which its small, cups-like teeth and the shape of its beak seem well adapted for compared to, for example, Euoplocephalus. Certain invertebrates which the small teeth may have been adapted for handling could also have provided supplemental nutrients. It has been concluded that despite the large size of ankylosaur skulls, the associated muscular was relatively weak, and also thought the jaw movement was limited to up and down movements. Extrapolating from this suggested that ankylosaurs ate relatively soft, non-abrasive vegetation. Later research on Euoplocephalus indicates that the forward and sideways jaw movement was possible in these animals, the skull being able to withstand considerable force. Ankylosaur specimens have found that the ability for backwards jaw movement evolved independently in the different ankylosaur lineages, including late Cretaceous, North American ankylosaurids like Ankylosaurus itself and Euoplocephalus. The retracted position of the nostrils of ankylosaurs were compared to those of worm lizards and blind snakes. And though it was probably not a burrowing animal, the snout of ankylosaurs may indicate earth-moving behavior. These factors, as well as low rate of tooth formation in ankylosaurs compared to the other ornithischians, indicate that ankylosaurs may have been omnivorous, eating both plants and animal matter. It may also, or alternatively, have dug in the ground for roots and tubers. A 2023 study found that North American ankylosaurids from the latest Cretaceous had jaws with low mechanical event average, whereas those of earlier relatives were high to moderate. These late ankylosaurids also had tooth complete occlusion and complex bipedal jaw mechanisms features shared with some late Cretaceous nodosaurids, but those instead of having have jaws with high mechanical advantages. These indicate that while the two groups converge in some features, the nodosaurs had higher relative bite force, which suggests diverging jaw mechanics and dietary partitioning between the two. For its environment, they will live in floodplain environments, warm subtropical / temperate climate, which was non-monsoonal, had occasional rainfall, tropical storms, and forest fires. The plants were supported primarily on angiosperms, with less common conifers, ferns, and cycads. But they were to watch for predators on Skull Island, which were V-Rexes. But Ankylosaurus has defenses, armor, and its club tail. Though it would have to evolve more robust and had to be much bigger, maybe about the size of a rhinoceros. Anodontosaurus, and for its diet, it was a low-browsing animal, and for its environment, they lived in floodplains and estuaries with coral swamps that indicates presence of riparian forests. Diplodocus, its diet unknown, and for its environment, lived in modified channel fills that frequent flooding, but lived in floodplains. Euoplocephalus, its diet, like other ankylosaurians, is thought to have been herbivore. It had a broad muzzle, which could indicate that it was a non-selective feeder, perhaps similar to a hippopotamus. This will provide niche separation from Compterius nodosaurids with narrower muzzles. Ankylosaurians have historically been thought to have as feeding using simple up and down movement of the jaws. It was examined the evidence for the jaw muscles of two skulls, AMNH 5337 and 5405, and concluded that despite the large size of the skulls, that associated musculature was relatively weak, and also thought the jaw movement was largely orthogonal in the vertical plane, only extrapolated from this that dinosaurs like Euoplocephalus likely ate relatively soft, non-abrasive vegetation. Leonosaurus. There's still a debate about this animal, because this animal is very unusual. It's speculated to have hunted or scavenged, with preserved gut content showing that it have eaten fish. And this ankylosaur is semi-aquatic, very unique. And for its environment, it represents a freshwater, lacustrine environment lacking rivers and deltas, among other variable features of freshwater settings. Such environments lacking these features include shallow lakes. So, they could survive, but they would struggle to adapt to the new environment. Nodocephalosaurus. Its diet. Well, the same. And for its environment, they lived in floodplains that was abundant with ferns, conifers, and flowering plants. And lived in subtropical climate. They could survive, but they would struggle and compete with another of its own species. Scolosaurus. Its diet, same as the others. And for its environment, it lived in seasonal semi-arid climate with rain shadows, and long dry seasons, as well as warm temperatures. They could, but would struggle. Telurus. Telurus filled a niche of a grazer herbivore. The Telurus had a broad and red triangular snout or beak, useful for low vegetation. And for its environment, they lived in a semi-arid terrain with meanders and lakes. Zool. Its diet, likely ferns and shrubs. And for its environment, they lived in temperate forests with many rivers and swamps, similar to the coastal plains of Georgia and the Carolinas today. They could survive on those habitats. Now for this conclusion, the ones that will survive are Ankylosaurus, Nodocephalosaurus, Zool, Telurus, Liogenosaurus, and for the others, like the Ano, Dilophosaurus, Eliphocephalus, and Scolosaurus will go extinct. Oh, and I also forgot another thing. This ankylosaurus, but this was a cut concept art. So it's not known that if it's going to appear in a film, and this one didn't appear in the World of Kong book. Why was it put there in a book? That we'll never know. So I'm guessing that this is what if ankylosaurus evolved to look like this on Skull Island. Without a club tail, having thagomizers on the end of its tail, commercially from stegosaurs, and its armor, and the skull shape of the head of its horns. And that's it for the video of could ankylosaurids survive on Skull Island. Like and subscribe, and see you later, guys.